Hi, everybody. It's your friend Adam. I'm here with Charlie's London. Charlie's London put together a wiki page, a new wiki page. I remember we were talking about it in the Comicsgate live green room, in Ethan's green room.
Mhm.
Did we ever settle on a title for the page? People were banding about different potential titles for the page, like Comicsgate present day or something like that.
I think we decided on 2017 to present day.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, the chronology of it. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that we did because we wanted to make. I think the sort of consensus was we wanted to show there was a timeline break, so
Mhm.
that when people do the normal thing of saying that this is what Comicsgate's about, then people could actually go, no, that might have been some of your perceptions of it before this, but then after this, this was actually the situation.
Yeah, so this kind of became relevant for me when because recently J. Scott Campbell was going back and forth with several creators in Comicsgate, and you ended up having a decent conversation with him over Twitter, as decent as you can over Twitter. But he said something that kind of stung about how Comicsgate needs to clean up their reputation. And I was thinking, yeah, motherfucker, we're trying to do that, you fucking bitch.
He's not the only one though. I had the same. Oh, I've even forgotten the name of the guy now. I had a conversation recently where a big creator got in a back. Who was it? Oh my god, my brain's gone dead. Where it literally was the same thing. It was he realised that we were part of like CG UK, the people that were jumping on the conversation. So
Right.
essentially just UK comic skaters, nothing. We're not a separate group. And he was trying to get us to rebrand away from CG, and we was like, well, no, because we are CG, so we brand away from it. And I'm trying to remember who it
Let's
was.
let's give the backstory for people who might
Yeah,
not have heard the situation. So J. Scott Campbell did somebody on the internet decided that they were going to fix one of his famous covers because it was too sexy for, I guess, present day. So they did this fix, and J. Scott Campbell did a very Comicsgate thing. He came in and said, "Well, listen, I will fix your fix." Now, Comicsgate famously is kind of against all of this woke stuff entering comic books, and the objectification of women is a thing in feminist scholarship that the new generation is kind of railing against. So they're looking at all these old comic books that are super sexy and super sexualized. I mean, basically the medium is for guys. It's like, that's what guys want to see. That's what guys like. So I'm assuming 90% of comic book sales is for men. So they're railing against these sexualized images now, and Comicsgate is standing against that. J. Scott Campbell uh, has been doing these sexy ladies forever, so he steps in. He fixes the fix. There's some back and forth, and the wokesters, the people who are against the objectification of women, come in and kind of give him a slapping around, and Comicsgate people stand up for him. And then he turns around and he puts out this statement basically saying, inadvertently kind of saying Comicsgate is a hate group. He lists all of these hate groups, and Comicsgate is included in the list of hate groups.
yeah,
So,
he done a Snyder on us because what he did was he put two things together, then
yeah,
claimed
exactly.
that they weren't connected. Well, the problem is you can't do that. It's like he draws pin-ups. Okay,
Yes.
now I can tell you from a female point of view that the pin-up scene where women want to emulate that look is huge. It's massive, and then it crosses over into the tattoo community and the rockabilly community and the retro community. So actually, the real and truth, the woke SJWs with J. Scott Campbell's work are very small. So why he is listening to this microcosm of bullshit on Twitter is absolutely unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah. So he obviously, and this has been a problem from day one. I remember when I started looking into Comicsgate, immediately you go to Google and you Google Comicsgate and kind of see what's going on. But me, a longtime Jordan Peterson fan, I immediately said, "Well, I've seen this bullshit before." Like, this seems like a bunch of nonsense. And I brought up the Google search. I did an anonymous Google search just because I thought it'd be interesting to look at. So obviously the first thing that comes up is a Comicsgate Wikipedia page. We'll look at that too. But there's a Washington Post article. The Comicsgate movement isn't defending free speech. It cuts off, but it's probably something terrible.
I think it's slandering it, or it's stopping it, or it's hindering it. I've read it there. Yeah,
sure,
I've read
totally. So, but this is from 2018. This is like 3 years ago. The Inverse Entertainment. What is Comicsgate? The newest geek controversy explained. I'm sure that's a hit piece. Vulture, Comicsgate, a comic book harassment campaign is growing. Comicsgate fandom. What is Comicsgate? Comicsgate Wiki. This might actually be pro Comicsgate here. I'm not sure. This one really chapped me. The Miami Herald. What the fuck? The Miami Herald? Comicsgate, alt-right fanboys go after women in the world of probably comic books, right?
Okay, if that's true, then what the hell am I doing here with a $50,000 campaign? Like,
I know. All of this, the media, this is why the media has lost all credibility here. And this Preston Poulter probably did this one right here. Comicsgate Urban Dictionary, right? Comicsgate, the act of extreme masturbation. You must knock one out whilst in close proximity to any of the following: your mom, a nun, your boss, a member of parliament. What? Who? What? How is that on the first page?
If that's worded that's a Brit, because member of parliament, you guys don't say that.
I know. Maybe it's not Preston Poulter. Maybe it's one of the UK Comicsgate haters there.
Yeah, we got anti-CG UK as well. Like, everyone's coming for us.
So this might have been a year ago now when we were talking about this, because we were talking about, and I've talked to Dan Frega about this as well, because Dan Frega knows, it really is about the internet. These people are squatting on the search term, and they've kind of Google bombed us here. So any new people the first thing they're going to do is search, and they're going to come to all this stuff, and they're going to think, oh, well, I want nothing to do with this. The pros that, Ethan's always trying to get bigger name talent interested in Comicsgate, they're going to come to this, and they're going to say, this is risky. This is like a risky thing to do. Like, God bless Frega, God bless Shane Davis, God bless, all the pros that are coming into Comicsgate who are able to see past this. It's not surprising that most of them are conservative, because most of the conservatives are the ones that have been harassed by this stuff online. And I would call it harassment, because we're just making indie comics here. What the hell?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. I once, as a bit of an experiment, I edited Ethan's Wikipedia page. I added Cyberfrog. That was all I did. I added Wreck Planet, and I added about it being a $1 million campaign. And what I put in it was factual. And then within minutes, it was gone, because apparently Wikipedia deemed it that it was an opinion of mine, because I put that it was a successful crowdfunding campaign. Apparently, that's an opinion according to Wikipedia. That it's a successful campaign. That's my opinion.
That is one of the things that irks me beyond all like irking, is the fact that there should be so much ink on Ethan Van Sciver for his first campaign being as successful as it was, and for a second campaign being well over $1 million. That's like news. That's huge comic book news. But it's totally suppressed. Those articles should be being written, and those articles are recent articles. They should be here at the top, and not this nonsense from the Washington Post from 3 years ago. All of this stuff should not be in these search results, and it's just basically just a crime against Comicsgate that any of this stuff is there.
Yeah, it is, and the fact that so much of it exists is not proof that it is true. It is that, in truth, if you read all of those articles, and believe me, we'll get onto this in a minute, I've spent a long time reading these articles, you will find that they all quote that Wikipedia page. So what you're getting is
really holy shit.
Pretty much, you'll see it near enough. So what happens here with Wikipedia algorithm is that gets quoted. So then someone else will quote that article, and because it's an article that exists within one that exists, it's classed as a creditable news article to include. So it's almost like they're going off into their own infinity, and it's a system that they're playing around with. And the people that are editing that Wikipedia page or actually own the lock to the main definition know this, and that's the problem we're having.
Yeah, I wonder if Ethan has any recourse now that Ethan has, I believe he's trademarked Comicsgate in an effort to stop Preston Poulter. Preston Poulter had planned on trademarking Comicsgate and then dropping lawsuits on people who are casually using Comicsgate in this video. Like, we would be at risk right now if Ethan hadn't have done that, of getting a cease and desist order from Preston Poulter, who's just, mad at the world, I guess. So now that,
can I just add, Adam, that William, I think it's Divine in the chat, has said Wikipedia equals circular citation. Now, I can tell you as an academic who has a qualification in archiving and research that circular citation in the real world is totally illegal. It's classed as a form of plagiarism, right? So therefore, academically and citation-wise, what Wikipedia actually does is wrong by allowing that circular citation. So they're actually discrediting themselves by having an article like this and not allowing people to express that it is wrong.
Yeah. It's a terrible thing. And Wikipedia is really the problem. I wouldn't be surprised if all of the editors on that Comicsgate page are anti-Comicsgate people. I mean, they're basically just squatting on the page. So give us a little rundown. So you did another, our strategy was to add an additional Comicsgate page. It was Comicsgate 2017 to the present. Can you give us a little bit of what you included in that page?
So when I went through it, I started off with looking at essentially what changed in 2017. So, with things, Ethan coming into what was going on with Comicsgate, there was things that were going on with your boy Zach, and between myself and Commie Mark, we were collating articles that would be able, the plan was to springboard it away from the main wiki page. So we were trying to get enough between us editorial rights so we could go into the main wiki page, the real one, and then we was going to footnote the real one to springboard to our one. And then that way, eventually that was going to end up with more views and hits so that one became the top search. Mm-hmm. So we was going to include things like, what happened with Anna's Vampirella cover, and then the split with the different groups, and then certain people like Mike S. Miller leaving, and then and then showing how these things have basically moved Comicsgate to where it is, including a massive list of all of the campaigns that have hit the big numbers, who they are, and then linking it to those individuals, because a lot of the people that have done these campaigns have not got their own Wikipedia page. So the idea was, if we then was able to create Wikipedia pages for those individual entries, so individual people that have come in that don't have their own Wikipedia page, so people like Literature Devil, for example, with his book,
totally,
then they would be creditable articles. Now, it used to be you could link a YouTube channel to Wikipedia. You can't do it now. You can't link it, because I linked one of them I was doing. I think I linked Dan Fraggers. I tried to edit Dan Fraggers and someone removed it.
Oh, literally. I saw that. Holy, they're trying to memory hole Dan Fraga over Comicsgate.
Yeah. So there was all that sort of thing that's going on. So essentially where we got up to, Mark and I, Commie Mark, we basically created a big list. And we've actually made a list of articles and links and things we were going to do year by year. And my plan was to eventually contact Zach and get the other side of it from his point of view. And then as this was all going on, we've decided since then, because every time we tried to make it go live, somebody basically shut it down. Mm-hmm. I got thrown off of there twice because apparently my name that I had on there sounded too much like a business or a company. And therefore, if you're a business or a company, you can't be an editor on Wikipedia, because it's seen that you could be going in and editing things to your own advantage. Mm-hmm. So someone is watching Comicsgaters and stopping them from doing this.
Right. Yeah.
100% they're stopping that. So what we've decided to do in the meantime is we have got a massive list of articles, a massive list of things that we're going to be working on now, and the plan is we're just going to put a massive website together. Now I know there's a comicsgate.org, so my plan is also to reach out to that person and get this collated with them, but then we're going to essentially make a massive website, or even a series of blogs that we can then use to either create creditable citations to reattach the try to do the wiki again, or we're just going to try to do something ourselves, because Mark is also working on the Comics Vine side. He's had some, he's had Peter Sameti and other comics gators on his show going through creating their Comics Vine. I think he had Patrick on a couple of weeks ago. And the idea is as well is to, you start editing and building up those articles, you're building up creditable articles that, again, Wiki can't remove because it goes against their own terms and conditions.
Yeah. The Robert Romano is in the chat. He gave me a super chat, and he's the one that actually runs comicsgate.org. So he was on my show on Thursday. So definitely reach out to him. He says, Robert Romano for $4.99 says, if you Google Comicsgate, an ad for comicsgate.org will occasionally appear at the top. I've been running it for a couple of months now. That's cool, because yes, his site is really awesome and paints Comicsgate in a great light. I thought, a lot of the Google algorithm runs off of links, and I know everyone in Comicsgate would link to this website that you're talking about putting together. I think I encourage you to at least put the article online somewhere. I mean, you might be fine just putting it on Medium and not having to run your own website or anything like that. And then all of us in Comicsgate, like, I'll put that link in every single video I publish, I'll link Comicsgate to that page, wherever it is, telling the story from 2017 on, because this is the thing. They've created this time capsule online just to discourage people from even checking it out. And it's so terrible. It's so insidious, because you see this on Twitter all the time. These people are just NPCs. They've read the Comicsgate wiki and they just believe it all. They buy it all hook, line, and sinker, and they're never going to be able to see past that. And they come into these conversations thinking, if you're remotely associated with Comicsgate, you're some kind of white supremacist racist, or homophobic or whatever. I don't see any of that. I've never seen any of that in Comicsgate. I've never seen any evidence of any of that.
No. And I'm quite honestly would say that if I'd seen it, I wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't either.
I know it's so frustrating, but I am now my book is essentially out of my hands now. The pages are being finished off with my artist. I have nothing to worry about with the script. Everything is totally cool now. That and some other professional things are gone that I needed to sort out last couple of months. I'm going to be cracking on building that website, and I'm going to reach out to Robert as well, because I actually think we should work together on this. I think he needs to, if he's happy to, we can be doing that, because really, I think we really need to make that the initiative. That's my push now. Until I get distributing my book 1, and then I start launching the promo for book 2, this is what I want to do, because I think that's where I want to be. Like, I'm very much a positive advocate for Comicsgate, and therefore that's where I want to place myself, because everybody's got their own niche. And I know that a lot of people see me for like the silent film stuff and that I do. But the other thing that I love to do is network and be very positive. And I think that's the two things that I could bring that's going to help to change it. And I might not be able to change it. I might not be the biggest voice and the best voice to do it. But equally, there's no harm in having a go, because what I can't do, I'm sure someone else can.
This is another thing that was so infuriating about J. Scott Campbell's tweet about how you guys need to do something to fix your reputation, maybe do like a fundraiser or something like that. They did a fucking fundraiser in Fandom Menace, and look how that went. That's completely sidesteps the reality of what's going on here. Even if we did some kind of fundraiser or something like that, the bottleneck is this Wikipedia page. That fundraiser would never get to the Wikipedia page.
No, it's true. And I've had this conversation as well with Ethan, that when he donated that money to the testicular cancer charity, the money that the charity, and it was weird because he didn't know. I mean, this is way before I even came in Comicsgate. He did this, but the charity that he donated that money to was actually the same one that helped my uncle with cancer, but sadly he didn't survive. It was the same charity, the same place, everything. It was a London-based charity, and therefore, you know, I read that and it really infuriates me, because I know for a fact that there are people here, genuine people with good hearts, that are actually doing what they need to do to stand up for what they believe in. It's not a racist thing. It's not a homophobic thing. I mean, it's just people that are saying, I like my comics the way they were, I'm going to make them over here. They're not saying that, as far as I know, no one is going around harassing these people because they want to do something a certain way. We get harassed all the time. We're not actually, what we're saying is, leave us alone to make our books. We don't like what the mainstream's doing, so we're going to be over here and making our own.
Yeah. Another insidious part of all this is, and you've seen this before, people will tweet out that they've literally turned down jobs for Comicsgate people because they don't want to be associated with Comicsgate. That hurts them. You're literally hurting independent artists who are too afraid to work with Comicsgate because there's this reputation out there that's completely fictitious. So not only are you hurting the people who are actually out there doing business and doing a lot of business, you're hurting the people who would work with them, because the people like Comicsgate has done nothing wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I know that for a fact. You see that near enough every single day. People that work, they're working in a comic and they go, oh, the minute they found out that I was Comicsgate, they didn't want anything to do with me. But what's interesting is, it's always the same thing that gets said. They don't then reply with, oh, they don't want anything to do with me because they think that these group of people are bad, and that why are you mixing with them and all that stuff. It's always I don't like how it's going to look to other people. That's always what they say. It's never, because what the truth with that is, they don't want to keep justifying that that's not what it is. They don't want to have the hassle of keep trying to justify. And I know that, because whenever I tell anybody about Comicsgate, they literally, they'll go from having a conversation with me that's really positive, and then within a day I'll hear from them. They'll go, you know what, I've been reading about that group, and
my God.
And it's like, but you know me. I mean, I've had this row with family members, my own flesh and blood, that go, you're not a racist though, so what are you doing mixing with them? No, I'm not a racist, and none of the people I talk to are. It's just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. Oh my God. This narrative is so powerful for them. They just point the racist card at anyone, and it takes them out of the competition. And we're kind of kicking their butts, and that's why they're doing it. So let's read a bit of the Wikipedia page and laugh together. I've already read the first sentence, and it's such a derivation from reality. It's a little distressing. So it says Comicsgate from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Yeah, you get what you pay for. The free encyclopedia right there. Comicsgate is a campaign in opposition to diversity and progressivism in the North American superhero comic book industry, targeting the creators hired, the characters depicted, and the stories told, which proponents allege has led to a decline in both the quality and sales. So do you think that that's a fair representation of Comicsgate?
No, not really.
Yeah.
And
I love the word targeting here. Targeting.
I'm sitting here as a person, a female who's got a Jewish mother and a Muslim father, thinking, how the hell are we against diversity? Like,
Yeah. The targeting is a terrible mischaracterization of what's going on. I mean, criticism
Yeah.
criticism is not like that's basically saying like every movie review in the world is targeting the producers of that movie. What? They made a movie. We reviewed it. Targeting.
And
What?
also, we agree with showing your support by opening your wallet. Like, that's always what we've said. So,
Yeah.
you know, wallet's closed if you don't want to buy it. Well, that's what we're doing. I mean, anything mainstream I buy now is old stuff, unless it's something that massively stands out to me by an artist that I really, really like. But ultimately, most of the stuff I buy is CG stuff.
Yeah. I would also argue that what has been going on can easily be framed as anti-progressivism, because all I've ever seen is tokenism in the comic book industry. They hire these people that don't have the kind of merit to create a successful comic book, and then they're just making those members of the LGBT community or whatever minority group they've hired look bad. Like the idea, I don't know if you know what tokenism is, but tokenism is basically just hiring somebody to say, look, we're diverse. We hired a black guy. Look, we hired a trans person. Now we're diverse. But if you're hiring solely based on their, you know, immutable characteristics without hiring them based on this thing called merit, and they don't have the ability to actually do the thing that you're hiring them to do, the project is ultimately going to fail, and they're just going to, you know, take the brunt of that blame, and it's actually going to end up hurting them more than it ends up helping them. So
Exactly, and that's my argument, and this is what I say to everybody when they say to me, what, are you against diversity hires? I'm like, I'm against diversity hires with no merit. So
yeah,
example,
tokenism. I'm against tokenism. Guess what? Progressivism is against tokenism.
Yeah, and also it's like, I've got friends, I've got transgender friends, I've got black friends, I've got gay friends, and they all say the same thing to me. They want to be hired for a job because they're good at it. And equally, the same thing with me. Like, if I ever thought I got a job just because I was a female, I'd hate it. I wouldn't feel like I deserved my place there. And also the other big thing that, and I know a lot of my gay friends think this, is big corporations that want to advocate for different groups of people. They're not doing it because they want to represent those types of people. They're doing it because they think that A, it looks good to other companies or other people, and B, they're making money. They're actually destroying these communities that they are planning to be pushing forward in a positive light. Because if you really cared about the gay community, then you wouldn't put a gay flag on your bottles of vodka, for example, with Smirnoff. You wouldn't put the pride flag on that, but then completely take all of the profits for yourself. Why aren't you taking that money and giving it to a teen gay suicide hotline or a youth hostel or schools to educate about being gay? No, you're actually just taking the money for yourself, thinking, oh, gay people are going to buy my bottle of Smirnoff because it's got the rainbow flag on it. And that's the way that it works. And that's what makes me sick. It's not about people having equal rights. I'm all for equal rights. I'm about people actually using these groups of people for their own agendas. And that's what also I feel I'm here in Comicsgate for, because I don't agree with that.
Yeah. So the name is derived from Gamergate, a similar movement related to video games. Its members present it as a consumer protest, primarily advocating their views on social media. Some have produced books intended to reflect the group's values. It is part of the alt-right movement. What?
Oh, God.
Has been described by commentators as a harassment campaign, which targets women, people of color, and LGBT folks in the comic book industry. It has been blamed by critics for the vandalism of one store and threats of violence. Holy shit, they come right out and say it's part of the alt-right. Look at the picture that popped. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And they link to the page with Charlottesville.
That
God.
I find that so offensive. As somebody with family
Oh
members,
my God. I know half my friends are Jewish. This is fucking bullshit. My co-author on Supervillains Anonymous is Jewish. It's fucking bonkers. Completely bonkers.
it's in,
Yeah.
as someone who's some of their family fled persecution because of that,
Mhm.
I find that so insulting. I mean, it's so you'd laugh if it wasn't so damaging. This is the
Have
problem.
you read these articles? So they're making a claim here and they're linking to these articles. I know one is the Washington Post.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is obviously just deep Trump derangement syndrome bubble. Yeah, since Trump lost the election, I thought we might have a better go of this stuff because so much of this stuff, I think it was driven by Trump derangement syndrome more than anything. Well, and also I honestly believe, and your boy Zach Richard is, I mean, a lot of his, I wouldn't be surprised if he's made the argument that the mainstream comic book industry was participating in tokenism by not hiring people that had the merit to actually do what they wanted them to do. So I think, and that's a progressive argument. I think they kind of got caught doing the anti-progressive thing and, were called out for it.
Yeah, and also I think the other thing that when I was talking to Mark, we was playing around with the idea that some of those articles on there, even the anti ones that Wikipedia credits itself officially as being an article that supports the anti-Comicsgate way of thinking, you can actually very carefully spin that. You could make a statement completely and utterly. So say for example they say something about it being all right, you could then mention someone in Comicsgate that's done charity work for maybe a cause that has connections to, let's say, the Jewish community. I'm just saying something off the top of my head here, and then you could say this would then therefore disprove the alt-right this alt-right view of Comicsgate. You could then link that article because you're actually disproving it, and then Wikipedia can't do shit about it because it's an article they've approved already. So,
Yeah.
And this is another thing that annoys me because it's throwing Ethan under the bus,
Yeah.
which is therefore putting that he is the face of a hate group. And
I read all these articles back when I was researching Comicsgate a long time ago, but I don't remember any of them. I should probably freshen up and reread some of them.
Yeah.
So views. While Comicsgate has no official hierarchy, what, they don't like that? No hierarchy. They're all communists. So. While Comicsgate has no official hierarchy, commentator Richard C. Myers, posting under the banner Diversity in Comics, and former DC illustrator Ethan Van Sciver have been prominent advocates for the campaign. No. They call it a campaign. They call it a campaign because they want to link it to harassment campaign.
Yeah.
All of this, oh God, it's so insidious. If you know anything about psychology, so much of this stuff is just propaganda. Members of the movement object to diversification of comics, especially the increasing inclusion of women as writers and characters. Oh my God. No. Bad writers. They don't want women who are bad writers. They don't want hardcore feminists that don't understand human psychology, that don't know how to human. They don't want bad stories. The storylines objected to include those such as the all new, all different campaign undertaken by Marvel in the late 2010s, in which various white male characters that have traditionally had the superhero identities of Wolverine, Thor, Hulk, Captain America, and Spider-Man were temporarily replaced by female and or racial minority characters. Comicsgate adheres Adherents have also complained about stories dealing with current social issues and the depiction of women with less sexualized features. There you go. There's your less sexualized feature. I guess my wife was listening in the other room because she texted me. She's like, the point is that it's supposed to be sexy. It's like telling Playboy to tone it down.
It's true.
It's like, what the fuck? It's a men's magazine.
But also, like, I don't care if I'm reading a comic book. It doesn't bother me if there's big boobs in it. Like, it doesn't bother me if I'm reading a massive piece of dialogue on a page and I have to stare at this ass for like 20 minutes while I'm doing it. It doesn't bother me. I'm quite happy in my own skin and my own sexuality to go, do you know what? This person's drawn a Harlequin with a pretty good rack. Well done to them. You know, it just doesn't bother me.
It bothers some. Some are super jealous of it. I it's so I understand that there are some women who feel that this is a criteria that they are unable to compete with, and it bugs them. But I don't understand. It's like there are these things called, like, romance novels are for women. Are we just getting rid of all media that's aimed, like, targeted at women? Are chick flicks going to become illegal? I thought we just had this idea that, okay, there are things for men and things for women, and that's just the way of life. I don't watch chick flicks and go, oh my God, I could never compete with this romantically. Holy shit.
Let me tell you something. I like to spend most of my waking days as a serious historian, right? But my fiance Yan will tell you, I love nothing more than them really crap trash novels that you get in the supermarket that are like, you know, the Spitfire pilot and the young damsel that's like, you know, I love all that crap because it's easy to read and it's just crap. I love reading it. So
yeah.
But no guy has ever said to me, you can't read that about the Royal Air Force. It's an absolute travesty. They're like, rock on, enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand how you could say, you know, we stand for freedom. What? Yeah, I thought the whole idea behind the progressive movement was, you know, there are these people who don't have freedom. You know, we call them marginalized. They're like gay people and stuff like that. They have to live their lives in the closet. Wouldn't it be great if they could be free? But no, it's like, then they have this other side of them that's completely repressive. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. I don't think they mind contradictions at all, Charlie's. I don't think they care.
No, and what they like to do is they like to claim that they're advocates, but they only want to be advocates in areas that they put minimal effort in. Like, for example, if you really care about these groups that you want to advocate for so much, then, as I said before about the bottle of vodka, why don't you go and volunteer at a youth centre then that's got a high crime rate in a certain minority group and try to help? Why aren't you on the phone lines trying to stop these teenagers from feeling like they need to end their lives? No, what you want to do is get on Twitter and start harassing people until they block you, and then you can claim the victim. That's the truth of what they think their advocacy is.
Yeah. Yes, it's Twitter advocacy. It's easy. It's likes and retweets.
That's all it is, and they're doing it for clicks. It's, you know, I get so fed up with it, and I've said this so many times on streams, that the job that I do, I see all walks of life. And, you know, when there was all the things with Black Lives Matter last summer, nobody advocates more for Black Lives Matter than a teacher who wants these kids to get the best grades they can so that they can go out and be the best individuals they can. Don't tell me, because I'm not bending the knee every 5 minutes, that I am racist, because I am bloody not, and I will say that to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Advocate for literacy. Let's all learn to read. They argue that the increasing diversity. Oh, this is back to the article. They argue that increasing diversity of comics, both among creators and in terms of characters, have led to declining quality and sales. While it is true that comic sales in the late 2010s, well, it is true that comic sales declined in the late 2010s. This decline was across the board and not limited to or particularly worse for the diverse comics that Comicsgate targets. Some such comics have been notably successful. So obviously they're pointing to a couple successful things. There is the huge debate over manga versus American Western comics. And I believe one of the reasons why manga is still so popular is that they haven't been touched by a lot of this woke stuff. They have the traditional views of, men and women are different, and they know how to cater to what women like, and they know how to cater to what men like. And I think that is one of the central problems with a lot of the media that is being produced now, that a lot of the writers are in this progressive bubble, and they're not even willing to admit that there's differences between the sexes that are well documented, that everybody knows about. There's studies on this that go back 50 years. It's so funny that they call themselves the party of science when this is where they're complete science denialists. So so much of this is bad writing, bad storytelling. My wife watches a lot of Korean shows, like Korean, because they don't have this woke stuff littered throughout them. They're basically like chick flicks that haven't been polluted with all this super woke third wave feminism. Obviously you have to have all these empowered female characters. The idea that a female's ultimate goal is to like fall in love with the cute boy is repulsive to American society now, I guess.
It's the same with Turkish TV though. Like it's very like when I go around to my parents' house and my dad's watching the Turkish TV, it's like night and day how different it is to Western TV. If you're not looking like what we consider, well, let's just say the way that they say it, sexualized human being, the good looking girls and the good looking guys, they're not really on TV. They see TV over there as it's like moving art. Why would you waste your time watching something that isn't beautiful to look at? That's kind of how they treat it. And I kind of feel the same about comics. I want to see something gorgeous. I don't want to see a superhero that represents me, because quite frankly, if there was a superhero that was exactly 5 foot, ever so slightly overweight with asthma, they wouldn't do a very good job protecting the world, right? So let's get it completely honest. That is the truth of it. I don't want someone that looks like me. I want someone that looks like Wonder Woman or someone that looks like Captain America, and let them go off and do their thing. So
I feel the same way. I want the 6 foot, like completely ripped. I mean, I'm drawing our book, and I'm definitely, shooting for beauty. Beauty's where it's at. Yeah. I got Star Blades. Kyle Ritter's book. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous.
We haven't got out yet.
Gorgeous. Every page is just a painting. It's so beautiful to look at. So I agree with you. Yeah, it's gotta be beautiful. Redwall 1521 for $5 says the problem I find is that these people read the mainstream only and think they're smart, and they consider what you would create alt-right. Yeah, that's a huge problem. It's a giant problem. Yeah, they feel informed, and they're not. They're just sheep.
I think the problem is they read the Comicsgate Wikipedia page, and because it's Wikipedia, they assume that it's therefore creditable, and that it scares people. Like, let's face it scares people. People think of the ramifications that could happen because they're associated with a group like that, but it's not like that. Like, this is just the ridiculous thing. Okay, yeah, Robert, send me a DM. That's a good idea.
Robert Romano for $4.99 says Comicsgate.org also operates as a news site blog. All CGers are welcome to write articles to boost SEO. It's ready to go. I'll send you a DM, Charlie. Yeah, Robert has done a lot of work on that website that I should put a link to his. I should start including a link to his website in my videos as well. Yeah,
do it. And then when Mark and I have got our thing up and running, we can put them together, and they'd be like a nice synergy, so we can try to get above this stupid Wikipedia page. But the problem that I found when I was putting together our Wikipedia page was that Wikipedia, or somebody involved with them, kept dissolving it. And so many times I went to log on and my password was apparently wrong. So I don't know what the hell is going on, but I do think there are people that are watching Comicsgate.
Yeah, there are people who are chronically online. They're online 24/7, and this to them is just a game. They like fucking with people's lives. They want to make sure that this narrative is set in stone forever and ever and ever. The thing that we can do is just keep making books, keep having fun. It's so funny. So many of these anti-Comicsgate people are so like desperate and weird. It's
Mhm.
like we're just having fun. We're just having a good time. These people, oh man, this activism twists your brain up in all kinds of ways. We should be thankful that we live in a situation where we can do things like this. DJM voice for $2 says this article is why we need 230 reform. Here, I completely agree. Yeah, 230 reform is these internet companies have way too much power, way too much power. This article is basically just slander, complete slander.
Yeah,
So
there's nothing. And the thing is, as well, we've gone through this article and we've got a list of all the articles they use because I am going to sit down and I'm going to, like I say, write the reverse article so that I can use the same. I can use the same citations, but I can word the leading up to it completely different. And that's why I said to you, this is what I'm good at because of the job that I do and the way that I've written essays and things for years. I can try to do this. The thing is, if they find a way around this, then we know definitely there is a group targeting us. And I'm not sure, but someone told me once that if you own a Wikipedia page, like you have a lock like this, because it's locked. If you see, no one can go in and edit that opening definition. So someone out there's got the lock for that. Now, if that is the case, that means that you can do the rest of the article, but you can't ever change that definition. Now, the problem you have here is that's the first thing people see. Whether they choose to scroll down to the article or not, that is the first thing that they will see. So is that the thing that then sticks with them?
yes, this is psychology 101. It's confirmation bias. And this is why people try to establish a narrative about politicians as early as possible in political races, is because confirmation bias takes over, and it's so difficult for people to change their minds, especially in situations where we have social media. They're going to Twitter and they're typing things out, they're writing things out. The psychological studies on this are clear. When you make declarations in writing, even if that declaration isn't published uh, publicly, it still affects you. Just the act of writing it out still affects you, and if it's published publicly, it affects you even more. And that's exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's impossible. Like, once you're not going to get J. Scott Campbell to change his opinion no matter what. Like, he may think, yeah, I could do that, but I'm skeptical that he could. I mean, J. Scott Campbell did turn it around a tad bit, but
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He did. The one thing, I mean, I know there was other people that were carrying that conversation on for a long time. But after he replied directly to me, and then he also put that statement up saying how he's sorry if he upset people and so and so and so. I sat there and I thought, right, I don't know how other Comicsgates feel about this, but I'm taking that as a sign that I'm not going to bother commenting anymore, and I'm not going to bother getting involved in the conversation anymore, because there are a lot of people out there that wouldn't have even bothered to doing that. Now, whether you think it was like he pussied out or whatever the situation, I just took it that, you know what, he at least bothered to sit there and write that where other people hadn't.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Got to take what you can get.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many situations. I mean, I think for me, him, and then what happened with Sean Gordon Murphy the same way. For me, that was really, really hard because I really like both of those guys. And I know there was that whole debate, wasn't there, about
what specifically about Sean Gordon Murphy are you talking about?
the whole thing with the cover that he was doing.
Okay, so Sean Gordon Murphy, for those of you who don't know, did a cover for Doug TenNapel for one of his Earthworm Jim books, a variant cover. And the mob came after Sean Gordon Murphy, and he had to pull the variant cover from from Doug TenNaples' campaign, which is horrible. It's fucking horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. And the problem I have with that situation, as much as there is so many things that you could say about Doug, there is that advocate of, well, what happened here still isn't fair, no matter what you personally think about him. But then it's that horrible mess of stuff that's going on. I mean, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know if these people have been threatened that they're going to have their contracts revoked because they're even communicating with CGers. You know, some people will take from that, well, that's good because we're scaring them, but we don't want to scare them. We just want to get on with what we're doing and let them get on with what they're doing, and never the two shall meet, and goodbye.
Yeah. The Christians, the evangelical Christians back in the 80s really tried to regulate art and speech in a way that made a lot of people uncomfortable and pushed a lot of people away from the church. And this is exactly the same thing. And I don't see how people can't recognize it. Like if these wokesters saw Christians doing this exact same thing, they would revile at it. They'd be up in arms, but they're doing it. And somehow they think that makes it okay. Like, you know, let people create their art. Let people associate with who they want to associate with. Don't put these kind of restrictions on them just because it offends your moral sensibilities. It's so wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, and Slick Rick in the chat has also said Dynamite was the big thing. And I think, yeah, the Dynamite, that was another one with the Cecil cover. And
yeah, that too. Yeah.
You know, and I think, I mean, I'll be honest, I tweeted that cover and I put, I'm really disappointed by this decision, and this is going to stop me from purchasing any further comics from Dynamite. To this day, I think that that tweet I sent out has got the most interactions or the most comments of any tweet I've ever done.
Really?
Because people were so up in arms about it, and it wasn't even necessarily it was the way it was done. You know, it was the fact that there was quite an open connection between Comicsgate and Dynamite until they didn't want it to be. Yeah. And then they started backtracking. But again, they bent to people that are not going to buy their stuff anyway. I mean, this is the thing that's I think annoys a lot of people. It's actually, you're not bending to a bigger market. I mean, this is the thing. You're not bending to big companies that are actually going to make you a lot of money. You're bending to people that wouldn't have bought it anyway. They just stopped wanting. So they just want someone else to stop having it.
Yeah, this is modern day McCarthyism, and I think it will be remembered in the same way McCarthyism is remembered, like not as a good thing, as a witch hunt.
You've got actually, there's someone in your chat. I think it's Seppuku Sushi was just turning around and saying, I think they might be just having a bit of fun with me, but saying that they don't care what I say. Chaplin was a commie and therefore should have got kicked out of America. So you bringing up McCarthy there worked quite well. But I will say that Chaplin wasn't actually kicked out of America. That's a myth. He was asked to go back and go in front of the Court of Un-American the HUAC, so the House of Un-American Activities, and he refused. So he was never actually officially kicked out. So,
is this in your book? I know your book is about Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, this is in my book. Yeah.
Okay, nice. I'll get the Chaplin history. I backed your campaign. So
no, you will. I mean, I actually, we've now just started to look at what we're. Yeah. You know what? I actually, if this is a dude or a girl, I'm not sure, but I quite like you. I like your banter, so it's good. We can have it. I will win you over. I promise.
It's all in good fun. Definitely.
Yeah, I know that, but yeah, we've actually just been looking at what we're doing for book 2, and the book 2 is going to end with the speech from the great dictator. So,
do you want to throw your campaign up? I know they've been sharing the link in the thing.
Let me
have we missed anything about the comics, the Comicsgate stuff?
What, the wiki?
What? Yeah, give us. Can you give us any? So you constructed the page as kind of a timeline.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to get back in. It's still telling me that my password's incorrect, even though I've requested a new one. And I've just had a look, and the thing that I was doing says it no longer exists. So someone's either dissolved it, but it's totally fine because I have got a Google Drive that I am going to get into on my other computer, on Leanne's computer, because I think the link might be on his one through Mark, and then we're just going to rebuild it again.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, then I am simply going to build the website. So it's totally fine. We've got everything saved.
You can put an article on Medium, and I think it might actually help if it's on Medium than if you just do your own website. I think a blog post on an established website will probably get more traffic.
I will do.
Especially if a lot of people link to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's give Charlie some marbles so she can learn to talk properly. I get.
What do you mean? That accent's great. I wish I had a British accent.
I think it's to do with, isn't that a scene in My Fair Lady when he makes her put marbles in her mouth to try to speak properly?
Maybe.
Yeah, no, but what I'll do is when I've spoken to Mark, I will send you what we've done, Adam, on DM, and you can have a look, and then we'll put the website elsewhere because Wikipedia is not being very friendly to Comicsgate, but we can get around that with having something that can actually be bigger than this wiki page.
Yeah.
Is my honest opinion.
Well, we've been talking for close to an hour. Maybe we'll wrap it up here. Do you want to throw your campaign up or just say anything about your campaign?
Hang on, I will do that.
How you doing? You're I think you're ahead of us. I think you're like 50 something, but I think we're nipping at your heels. I think we're pretty close to 50K. So
it's not anything other than a healthy competition.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I don't want people to think.
Yeah, that's in pounds. So I think I can change it, put it in dollars. But yeah, we're coming up close to, I'm not shutting the campaign anytime soon because we're going to keep it going until probably I launch the mailing list for book 2. But so it'll be open for a while, yeah. But yeah, it's on $52,493.
Nice.
So, yeah, so it's insane, really. It's been doing so well. 640 backers. So it's really, I'm really excited. Like I said, we've just got, we're going through the script for book 2 because essentially, like, apart from editing it and running the campaign and that, I'm not the artist on it, and I'm not the letterer and stuff on it. So that's all with them now to be sorted out. And so I can crack on and actually start writing book 2. And the book 2 is going to end, like I said, with it's essentially going to be the periods of both the wars, so 1917 to about 1940. So it's going to end with the speech from the great dictator, which in itself has got its own license because it's used so many times for different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make sure that was all okay to use as well.
And you have permission from the Charlie Chaplin estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, who are totally supportive of this book. They follow me on Twitter. So it's all absolutely positive. I will carry on doing this and I will carry on supporting Comicsgate, and that is exactly where I stand. I always fly the flag, always use the hashtag. It's never caused me any issues, and I'll keep doing it until it does. So that's the best thing that I can say on that. Yeah,
I'm not in a position where anyone could really hurt me. So obviously I'm throwing my lot in with Comicsgate just because this anti-truth stance that people have bugs the fucking shit out of me. It drives me insane. Like lying about people to try to destroy their lives with these accusations of racism. It's like the new witch hunt. We're living in Salem. It's awful.
Yeah, and I think the thing that always gets thrown up with me is the fact that was Chaplin a communist? And the thing that I will always say is that there is a lot of evidence to suggest he wasn't, but he did really silly things that made people think that he was. And I think that he was an incredibly stubborn individual, that he didn't care that some of the things that he did made him look that way. He was going to do them regardless. And also I think growing up here, he had a very different idea of what was socialism to what a socialist in America would feel. And because everyone was so scared of socialism for obvious reasons, I think that he didn't read that situation very well at all. He thought he was advocating the American dream, and what he was actually doing was he was creating fear of an unstable, like the instability that people think that communism can bring to a country by giving certain groups of people, maybe at the time, too much freedoms. And I think that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time with this, because it was the height of the Cold War, like the early 1950s. It was the height of the Cold War. There was a lot of the Red Scare was rife. And actually, I'm not an anti-McCarthyist, to be fair. I think that there were a lot of people that he actually they found that were doing things that could have damaged America at that time. But equally, I think someone like Chaplin, and they even looked at Alfred Hitchcock was another one. The list is huge, and I don't think that he really deserves to be on it. But that's why I tackled it in my book, because he is the epitome of cancel culture. I mean, they tried to cancel him at least once a year for different things, and so far it hasn't worked. So I just thought, knowing what I know about what so many people in CG go through, I really thought that this is a great advocate for what cancel culture can do. And it was the right time to tell this story. And I know I've had some backlash that this is a weird book to be crowdfunding. This is a weird comic to be crowdfunding. But actually it's not, because it's the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Most of what I know of McCarthyism is from the movie The Front by Woody Allen, a comedy made in 1976. Have you seen this movie?
Years ago, I think.
Yeah. So Woody Allen plays a writer that, well, he's not, I don't even think he's a writer. He's hiring all of these blacklisted Hollywood writers that can't get work in Hollywood, but they're like great writers. It's funny because that could be happening in Comicsgate. Like Comicsgate could be blacklisted and Ethan could be hiring mainstream writers that are great. They can't put their name on the piece. It's like reverse The Front, reverse McCarthyism. Well, that would be hilarious.
This is the thing. I think we'd have a lot more artists and writers over here if they weren't scared about.
I completely agree. The mainstream would be flooding, and that's another. It bugs the shit out of me what Ethan has managed to accomplish, and that there should be articles all over the place about this, about the transitioning of the industry. We're going through an industry transition. This is as big a transition as the transition that happened between the studios and the rise of independent filmmaking, when all the technology got super cheap and everyone started making their own movies. They were talking about it for years and years and years. Remember Sling Blade, made for no money and won an Academy Award? That's the kind of shit that's happening in Comicsgate, and no one's writing articles on it because of this nonsense.
Do you remember the film The Artist that came out about 10, 15 years ago?
Yes.
Do you know why that was released? That was a pushback to all of the films that were being released that were relying solely on CGI, with actors sitting in a room somewhere with a green screen talking to a box.
Yeah.
That's the reason for that film. And that is the reason why the silent film community is so massive, because it's a pushback to the fact that there's no real art anymore. Everything is done like that. I mean, look at not the latest Star Wars films, but the original, like the prequel trilogy that were done. I think, wasn't it Ewan McGregor said that he didn't like acting that way because he was
he hated it.
Yeah, exactly. So
talking to the tennis ball, showing up and acting with the tennis ball. I cannot believe that George Lucas is such a fucking terrible director that he didn't even get like an actor to respond to. Doesn't he know how acting works?
They did that with the guy that played Jar Jar, though, didn't they? They made him stand there with like a big head or something on, if I remember rightly. I've seen a video of that. But
maybe.
But yeah, and that's where this has all come from. I mean, we can't show them on here, sadly, because trust me, you will get struck. But like Chaplin's films, most of his own stunts, and it wasn't necessarily that he was up high on things and risking his life, but he knew how to handle the cinematography that it looked like he was. There's a really famous, I think it's in Modern Times, where he's roller skating and it looks like he's going off of an edge. It wasn't. It was depths of perception glass that was used, and there was paintings of the scenes on the glass, and he placed the camera in a certain way that looked like he was roller skating up to the edge of the floor, but it wasn't. It was just a black thing painted on the ground, and it was covered by an image.
Wow.
And
I've probably seen more silent movies than most people, because I used to always take my wife to the silent movie theater on Valentine's Day in Los Angeles. They had the original organ player who worked in the silent movie theater when they actually showed silent movies. The guy was like 100, like he looked ancient.
Yeah, and there's nothing more amazing. My favorite, one of my favorite Chaplin films is The Kid, and there's nothing more amazing than watching that with a full orchestra. It's like it's insane. But this is what I'm saying, and it's a community-based thing. Watching those is a community-based thing. Enjoying them is, and if it wasn't for people like the Chaplin estate, these films wouldn't exist, because they need constant restoration. And really, that's the only reason I think I even buy anything Disney anymore. Like, I like all classic Disney stuff. Like, I like classic Mickey Mouse and stuff like that, Steamboat Willie and whatnot. But whenever I buy anything Disney, all I think to myself is, I hate that I'm giving you money, but at least I hope I'm giving you money to restore the stuff that's good. Otherwise, it's not going to be. That's where I pretend that my money goes whenever I buy anything Disney. Is you're keeping Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs looking nice, or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or whatever, which is probably one of my favorite Disney films.
Well, this has been a great discussion. I hope you guys found it interesting. Leave us your feedback in the comments below. Obviously, I know what we're doing is probably impossible, but I like to do the impossible. I like to at least attempt the impossible. I am a optimist at heart. So,
yep. And when we've got that page up and running, I'm more than happy to come back and we can talk you through it.
Sure, that would be great. Yeah, we'll read it together. So, thank you. You've been so generous with your time, and leave us your feedback in the comments below. I'll go ahead and leave it there. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys. I'll see you tomorrow on Sitch and Adam. I don't know what we're reviewing yet, but we'll see you then. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.